Welcome back, guys, to the Great Ace Attorney 2 Resolve. Well, last episode, on examining our court record further, we discovered that a new poison had been stolen from the Yimei University, to Yujin Mikoto's shock, from the newspaper Sozeki had given us, leading to us to figure out that Rei removed the blade to try to remove the vector for its delivery in a bid to save a life, with Giselle Brett having been killed by the very thing our defendant assumed she had stolen. However, Prosecutor Ouchi then presented a photo of Rei holding the knife while it was in the victim's body to try to get the guilty verdict. We demanded to know who took the picture, only to find that the source of the evidence was anonymous. With a bit of deduction, have figured out who took the shot. The paparazzi following around Natsume Sosake, Raiten Menimemo. We now resume the trial after a recess. I'm so sorry, Susato. I should have told you about the toxin. Rei. You have a strong sense of responsibility, I know. That's why you decided to shoulder the burden alone. No, that's not it at all. I was scared of my failure coming to light, that's all. So I hoped to retrieve the substance from the Englishwoman before anyone found out. Before the trial started, do you remember what you said, Susato? You had no doubt in your mind about my innocence, that you'd stand by me to the last. I remember. And yet I didn't deserve your trust in me. I hid important details from you, Susato. I completely betrayed your faith in me. Hit me, Susato. I deserve it. No, in fact, throw me to the floor. No, that's too good for me as well. Drag me for the city streets. I'm no better, you know. Oh. Even though in my heart I knew that you'd pulled the knife blade from Miss Brett's back, there was just a brief moment when, in my mind, I doubted you. Susato! I'm sorry. After I stood here and promised you that I'd stand by you and always be on your side, I betrayed your faith in me too. And as such, I failed you as a lawyer. Oh, no. I think the situation has taught both of you a valuable lesson. Placing your unbridled faith in another is no easy task. Yes, Father. That fact has certainly struck home. Which is why I can see more clearly now. So, Rei. Yes? Can you find it in your heart to forgive me? Oh, Susato. You know you'll always be a gallant, dashing lawyer in my eyes now. Oh, Rei. I was so scared, you know, when it happened. I didn't know what was going on. The Englishwoman was sitting at the back of the hut, listening to what I was saying. I know it was you who stole the poison. Well now, whatever do you mean? And then, a moment later, she suddenly got to her feet, before collapsing on the floor in front of me, with a knife in her back. It all happened right before my eyes. And you were the only people in the hut at the time. That's right, just Miss Brett and myself. There was no one else. So I just don't understand how she could possibly have been stabbed like that. A great mystery indeed. I still can't believe it happened. That's why I just couldn't bring myself to speak up. It will be alright. However it happened, and whatever really went on by the sea that day, I promise you that I'm going to prove everything you said you saw is true. Spoken like a true Mikotoba. Now, I think we should discuss what's coming up in the trial, don't you? We don't have much time. We must make sure we have our facts in order. Yes, I expect the poison is going to come under close scrutiny in the upcoming proceedings. The police should hopefully have identified it on the blade by now. The trouble is, it's a completely new laboratory synthesized blend of alkaloids. The police won't have any way of testing for it. Oh, I see. Yes, without this chemical reagent, it's impossible to detect the toxin. Chemical reagent? I sent a colleague of mine off with some earlier to deliver to police headquarters. I think perhaps you should have some as well, though, just in case. I mean, okay, even if they couldn't test it without a chemical, they couldn't test it otherwise, right? They could just, I mean, it's not like you could test... Back then, they'd probably just test it on an animal, I'd have thought. Just a little bit of a stab and then see what happens. It wouldn't surprise me. A special indicator solution for a new poison under development by my father's team. It's being created in strict secrecy and exists only in my father's laboratory. They have ways. Just not necessarily non-lethal ways. What's the matter, Suzuto? You're suddenly very quiet. It's this newspaper article. Exclusive. Deadly poison stolen from Yumei Medical Research Laboratory. Though, to be honest, this late, you don't know if the poison's still active. I'm wondering how the information got out, given that it was a government secret. It was all the Englishwoman's doing. What? It was when the professor and Soseki-san were being interviewed at the laboratory. That so-called English lady swamped in and without any compunction said to Professor Mikotoba, "Oh, Professor, surely your guests would love to hear about your work on that substance there." It put me in a very awkward position, to be frank. Well, Soseki-san's curiosity had been piqued, so I had little choice but to give him a cursory introduction. So then, Soseki-san knew about the poison. Yes, and it's highly likely that the reporter who was writing up the story about us would have caught a glimpse of the toxin too. This Menimemo-san. By the way, did that reporter join you all when you went to the beach? Oh, no, I don't remember the reporter being there. Indeed, he shouldn't have been. I very much doubt anyone would have wanted him there. Oh? A known criminal had been given permission by the authorities to bathe by the seaside. Soseki-san pointed out that inviting a reporter might be problematic, so the man was sent back to his office. Yet he obviously didn't go back. He secretly followed the party to the beach and took this very candid photograph. And then presumably he posted it anonymously to the police. Ah! Yes, that must be what happened. Counsel! We just heard that the new witness is now ready to testify. The trial is about to resume. Please proceed into the courtroom at once. It's time to steel ourselves once again, then. Defense attorney, Ryutaro Naruhodo. Yes. Ray has put her faith in me now and told me everything. So I can't let her down. I have to prove that what she's telling the court is true. I have to prove what really happened that day. So on the 13th of August at 11:30 a.m., we return to the courtroom. Is he there? Hello, Raiten. Maybe? I hereby call this court to order as we reconvene to continue the trial of Raiten Menimemo. Prosecutor Auchi, have you summoned a new witness? Before I address that question, Your Excellency, I have some very important news to share. Oh? What news? And why does he look so happy about it? During the recess, with the collaboration of Professor Mikotoba's laboratory at Yumei University, the police re-examined the knife that was used to end Mr. Delbrett's life. Excellent. I admire your rapid handling of the matter. Oh, too kind, Your Excellency. Too kind. I was merely carrying out your instructions, of course. I had the reagent delivered to police headquarters by rickshaw, so it would be there in good time. But judging by the man's swagger, I feel we might need to brace ourselves for the inevitable. And, Counsel, what were the results? This dagger, which was so cruelly used to end the life of the victim, has no trace of poison anywhere along its blade. What? Are you sure about that? I would stake the reputation of the police on it. Armed with the reagent, the test is extremely simple. They couldn't have made a mistake. The murder weapon has been entered into the court record. No trace of poison found on it. So what was the vector? In short, the accused's feeble excuse earlier has been utterly destroyed. Ah! Now, the prosecution is ready to call the new witness. Ah, the newspaper reporter who managed to capture a photograph of the crucial moment. Good. Very well, officer. Bring in the witness. No trace of poison on the knife. But if that's really the case, how could the toxin have entered the victim's body? Witness, please state your name and occupation for the court. Raiten Menimemo of the Shoyu News. If I'm what people like to call a journo. What's a journo, Father? Do you know? It's simply a contraction of journalist. I'm there with the news breaks, putting pen to paper to catch these scoops today in the print the next morning. They don't call me the hero of the Herald for nothing. The nice guy of news. Nice armband, Mr. News Guy. Oh, so, it was you who took this photograph, was it? Well, what do we hear? I'm sorry. Oh, brace yourselves, people. Menimemo senses a scoop in the offing. Female student up to foul play defended by curiously handsome young lawyer in Supreme Court. The readers will lap this up. We'll set it above the fold at 72 point in a 5-leg format for the morning edition. Huh? Right then, let's start with your name. Oh, it's Ryotaro Naruhodo. Next, what made you want to become a lawyer? I wanted to reform our country's legal system, I suppose. Ryotaro has suddenly become very ambitious, I see. I just borrowed Kazuma-sama's dream for a while. By the way, my name is Taketsuchi Aochi. That's Taketsuchi Aochi. The so-called dark horse of the Supreme Court. My objections strike fear into every defense lawyer's heart. No, the readers won't buy that. What? Witness. Yes? What this court demands to know is whether or not you were responsible for the taking of this picture. It was delivered anonymously to the Imperial Police Bureau only yesterday. Yeah, I wouldn't be a journo if I didn't click quick when presented with a scoop like that now, would I? Sometimes stories call out to me, sometimes I have to chase them down, but either way, you've got to be fast. Fast legs to run with and a fast hand to write with. It's no good if you don't know it down, I always say. That's what I call my Menimoism. Menimoism? Ah yes, I remember your face. We met that day when you were interviewing myself and Saseki-san. Yes, right. That was me, Menimemo again. But you were supposed to be going back to the Shoyu news offices after our meeting. But the scoop is, I didn't. Because that Englishwoman's words had piqued my journalistic interest. Miss Brett's words? A criminal, left to do as she pleases just because she happens to be a British citizen. It's horse dung! This country's judiciary is rotten to the core. The Supreme Court's rulings aren't worth the paper they're written on. The police are just imperial pawns. Stay your tongue, young man. There are complex political issues at play. Well, anyway, I quickly jotted down those words she said in my memo pad. Are you ready? I'll read it out. It's all here. Right, here goes. I should like to go with everyone to see your country's coast. A serious criminal going on some junket? The people need to know about this. That's why I decided to sneak after them. To get the woman's story so I could hammer her in the press. Do you mean to say that you did indeed witness it firsthand? The grim scene portrayed in this photograph. Oh yes, I saw it with my very own journo eyes. From start to finish. Through the viewfinder of my trusty camera. Thank you, Menimemo-san. You will now give a formal testimony before the court. You will state exactly what it is that you witnessed of the events surrounding Miss Brett's death. Now, before we do this, I've just got to say, I really appreciate his design. So many elements that say so much. His design is ace. The camera never lies. Each shot was made a shoddy old reed screen, so there were plenty of gaps I could see inside through. The Englishwoman was sitting on a stool when the student girl came in and started arguing with her. Seconds later, The girl pulled out a knife, throwing the Englishwoman to the floor as she stabbed her in the back. A smoldering journo's spirit burst into flames. Quick as a flash, I whipped out my camera ready to click. I pulled apart the rough weave of one of the screens and poked the lens through for the perfect shot. Read screens, you say? Right, you can see them clearly enough in that great shot I snapped. That walls were just screens made of coarsely woven reeds. Yes, it allows the breeze to pass through and bring some relief from the summer heat. And it was a breeze for me to poke my camera through and see the whole thing on up. Ignoring for the time being the appalling invasion of privacy involved, did you witness everything that happened from the moment the defendant entered the hut? Oh yes, I saw it. I saw the whole thing from start to finish. And you say that you took the photograph through a gap in one of the screens? Luckily for me, they were pretty shoddily woven. I pulled the reeds apart and thrust the lens of my camera through the gap. Would I get away with it, or would I be seen? It was the gamble of a lifetime. A tenacity of purpose is considered admirable in a journalist, I suppose. Run a risk one day, run a scoop the next. That's Menimoism in a nutshell. It's hard to say, though. At last, it would appear we have a genuine witness to this wicked crime. The evidence and testimony are extremely compelling. I believe we may be close to a verdict. No! Wonderful news, Your Excellency. Wonderful. Nevertheless, it cannot be denied. This testimony begs one very large question. What question? Exclusive news, a startling photograph, or the makings of an exceptional story for the reporter. Why then was the story never published? Oh, that's right. It seems clear to me that there are circumstances at play here that are yet to be understood. Ah, more pathetic excuses. Very well then, Counsel. Proceed with your cross-examination. Yes, Your Excellency. There's more to this report than meets the eye. He's keeping something about this case very close to his chest. The camera never lies. The beach hut was made of shoddy old reed screens, so there were plenty of gaps I could see inside through. What made you want to see what was happening inside the beach hut in the first place? You perving? Call it journo instinct. Can you think of a better reason? Oh, I don't know. Perhaps because as well as being a proven criminal, the person inside was a young woman. Ah, I see where you're going with this. Brace yourselves, people. He's painting the journo as a voyeur. It's hardly slander, sir. You had the camera and you were taking pictures without the woman's knowledge. Nope, you've got it all wrong, little student boy. Sorry. To my mind, all that was inside that hut was a scoop. Nothing more, nothing less. Scoops know no gender, man or woman, it's all news. There's not even Menimemoism, it's basic journalism. If only the courtroom was as indiscriminate. Right, so if that's all buttoned up, can we move on? Tell the court then, witness. What sight befell your eyes when you looked inside the hut? A sight that vindicated my journo instinct, that's what. When I pulled back the reeds, I could see it all as clear as day. The Englishwoman was sitting on a stool when the student girl came in and started arguing with her.
Hold it!
So you actually saw Membami, Sam, enter the hut? Yep, and she was raging. Raging like my journo spirit. And the argument you mentioned, what was that about exactly? You stole it. I didn't steal it. That kind of thing. Talking about the poison, I suppose. The student girl walked right up to the Englishwoman and really started laying into her. I mean, if she'd laid into her any more, there would have been eggs. Man should have been an author. His descriptive talents are wasted on journalism. But the student's rantings fell on deaf ears. Like a Japanese person listening to English for the first time. He really ought to work on his similes first, though, to be honest. Anyway, the point is, that woman in the dock was mightily angry. And her temper finally got the better of her, it seems. Dear me. Which was the climactic moment that I caught on film. Seconds later, the girl pulled out a knife, throwing the Englishwoman to the floor as she stabbed her in the back.
Hold it!
It's kind of crazy, that is. Do you swear before this court you actually saw the precise moment when the stabbing took place? Ah, the precise moment. I didn't see just that. I saw the whole hellish scene play out from start to finish.
I have here a simple plan of the beach hut. Perhaps you could use it to explain to the court exactly what you witnessed.
Right you are. It's all here in my Menimemo memo pad. When I first peered into the hut, I'm sure that the Englishwoman was on this stool at the back of the hut here.
Yes, the accused's own testimony confirmed that.
She just sat at the back of the hut, smiling sweetly, is what I've noted down. It's my turn to testify now. Try not to interrupt.
Ah.
Then, the next moment, as I was watching, the evil student girl entered the hut. After a while, the pair of them ended up in the middle of the hut, arguing furiously. The Englishwoman went for the student, but the girl dodged out of the way. And in a flash, plunged the knife into her adversary's back as the two passed each other. What you describe as a grim crime indeed. Never sugarcoat the truth. That's what Menimemoism says. The beach hut plan has now been entered into the court record. Okay. By the way, Menimemo-san, whilst you were watching that terrible scene unfold before your eyes through the gap in the screen, did it not occur to you to try to prevent the tragedy rather than capture it on film? Students have to be observers. We can't get involved. That's our raison d'etre. So you didn't converse with Miss Brad at all? Obviously not. An observer always remains on the outside looking in. And that's something to be proud of, is it? Your Excellency, if I may. Yes, Professor? I think the witness's last expertly phrased statement should perhaps be added to his formal testimony. Father, what are you... I will grant the defense's request. Menimemo-san, you will supplement your formal testimony with the aforementioned statement. Well, nihilism is the foundation of Menimemoism, but I'll gladly prove that my words are meaningless. So this is the statement we're going for, because it's an added statement. I never once set foot in the hut, nor spoke with the Englishwoman. I was there only as an observer. So we need to place him on the scene, do we? Thanks, Mr. Mikotoba. However, since he entered the scene, there are various parts about his character that bring a lot to light. One of which is currently facing away from us. So, with that said, I'm assuming that is where we can get you to be closer. Because you said you never once set foot in the hut, nor spoke with the Englishwoman. I was there only as an observer, but we've got two things that are massively linking here. One is the fact that, of course, Raiten Menimemo, with this again. But number two, in fact, is this insignia. So, in order for it to have your pen, or have a pen from your, well, it's essentially your pen if it's RM as well, from your news place by the look of it as well. In order to have that, you would have had to have met her. You'd have had to have talked to her. We don't need to press anymore when it becomes that dead on. And maybe I should examine some other stuff just so we've got like everything knowledge already up.
Objection!
Makes sense to do that. Menimemo-san, until now I've had a firm belief that newspapers are in the business of uncovering and publishing the truth. You're spot on there. The press doesn't lie, which is why I'm proud to wear the emblem of the Show You News on my arm. In a way, that's more Menimemoism. Sadly though, it seems the journalists who write for those papers don't always share the same passion for the truth.
What are you suggesting with those recriminatory words, counsel?
Menimemo-san, do you recognize this fountain pen? Ah! This pen was found at the scene of Miss Brett's death. In fact, the murdered victim was gripping it in her hand as she died. What are you... if you look at the barrel of the pen, you'll notice that its owner's initials are engraved there. RM.
Yes, thank you for bringing that up, Counsel. The initials of the accused, Raiten Menimemo.
Is it a coincidence, I wonder, that your initials are also RM?
No!
Raiten Menimemo. RM. That's horse dung. Can't you see one of the central tenets of memory memoism is being a pencil user? Oh yeah, because the pencil that you need to dab on your tongue, that you're literally doing right now to say that's not something normal. Also, hand. And yet, as the court will clearly be able to see, on your right hand, there is a very obvious blue ink stain. It would appear that you must have rather carelessly left it somewhere recently. Your favorite fountain pen, that is. Horsey horse dung! Menimemo-san, is it not the case that before she died, you met with Giselle Brett in that beach hut?
Objection!
Why should we listen to this absurd nonsense? It's nothing but another excuse.
Exactly. Sure, your news will stand behind me all the way. I deny everything. There must be as many people with the initials RM as there are stars in the night sky. The defense has neither the time nor the inclination to count every star in the sky. Huh? And there's no need anyway, because this pen has more to tell. Yes, there is another clue. A clue that undeniably proves who its owner really is. In that case, Counsel, the defense will now show the court where this alleged clue lies. Of course, Your Excellency. The clue on this fountain pen that clearly reveals its owner's identity is... Zoop, 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 zoop.
Got it!
As well as the initials, there is also an emblem on this fountain pen. An emblem that you will of course recognize, Menimemo-san. Goodness me! It's the emblem of the Shoyu News! In other words, the owner of this pen is an employee of the Shoyu News, whose initials are RM. Suddenly the stars in the night sky don't seem so numerous, do they? Well, Menimemo-san, how do you respond? No! Order! Order! Explain yourself, witness! So, this is how the mighty Supreme Court works, is it? Using coercive tactics to have well-meaning citizens reveal harmless secrets. I've used nothing but honest tactics. Alright then, fine. I won't try to hide it anymore. Yes, not long before that grim tragedy unfolded, I, a Shoyu News reporter on behalf of the public, conducted an interview with the Englishwoman. An interview?
You've never mentioned this before?
When exactly was this? As I said, it was before that evil little student girl showed her face in the hut. It couldn't have lasted more than 2 or 3 minutes. That's all. It was just a brief exchange. But it came to nothing, and as we many memoirs say, the people don't pay their dues for unworthy news. However insignificant you deem me to be, this court cannot overlook the meeting between yourself and the victim. You will testify now under oath about the precise nature of this meeting and what transpired. Got it. Yes, all right, but on one condition.
Condition?
In all good conscience, I couldn't speak out alone about this. You need to call back the earlier witness, Soseki Natsumi-san. Soseki-san? Oh, yes. According to my notes here, that man has a secret of his own, and brace yourselves, because it's not a harmless one. It's big.
What?
What? Menimemoism states the one man's secret is every other man's front page story. Very well. I will grant the witness's request in this instance. Officer, summon the earlier witness back to the stand. Soseki-san, hiding something. And so it looks like a new testimony begins, which is a good point to stop and begin anew next time. But first of all, is there any other information I can glean from any of this? I mean, the knife looks like a knife. Ah, yes, this must be the victim's blood. Oh dear, blood is never a pretty sight, is it? I'm having to fight the urge to run it under a hot tap and get it clean. You've always been fastidious about cleanliness, haven't you? I think this is something else, Father. It's about the blood. It's like no emblems on it, etc. It is blood. And blood. Meanwhile, we also have this, our lovely reagent. The label appears to be written in a foreign language that I don't know. It's German, so your knowledge of English is going to be of little help here, I'm afraid. Couldn't you just have written medicine on it in Japanese? Then we'd all be able to read it. German is the international language of medicine, my dear. Yes, I can certainly see the merit in labeling the bottle in Japanese. Though I'm not sure medicine would be entirely appropriate. That is all the information we can glean from that. The rest are pieces of paper that we can examine. This layout might be important. But for now, we return to the witness's secrets. Or more to the point, we hear the secret about Soseki. Next time on The Great Ace Attorney 2 Resolve. Hopefully, you'll join me then. And I'll see you guys around for that. Bye-bye.